It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha! It's Feedback Friday, and that sounded really low energy because it was low energy. Um, I'm having much more trouble getting back up to full speed after having shingles than I thought I would. I'm shooting this super late on last night. I can't get it in gear. Um, so I'm trying. At least I got a full complement of videos out. The patrons got a message this week instead of a video, unfortunately. But next week, I'm starting an experiment with content on Patreon. It was going to be this week, but I just couldn't get it done. So good time to jump on. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Let me tell you, with things like Patreon, it's far less terrifying to get sick and miss a bunch of videos because, you don't have to hit with every video for monetization. It's so much better. But anyways, the big video this week was the one about Blizzard replacing a woman with a bowl of fruit. And I will read a couple comments from that, but one comment actually served as a tangent to other things that happened this week. I'm still kind of in shock about Chris Pratt playing Mario. I'll leave it there. Like, do we have the meme yet of two Yoshis and Chris Pratt going like, right? Do we have that yet? Because holy shit. But I want to read one interesting comment that's sort of a tangent to the bowl of fruit thing. But I found it interesting because this is one of these things about workplace stuff that I admit I don't. I see where the commenter's coming from. So this is what the commenter said. Your comment about a woman showing some cleavage at work and how it shouldn't be a big deal prompted this for me. I work in a corporate environment that thankfully has a dress for your day policy, which means that you can dress casually unless you have an important meeting with a higher up or something similar. Casual dress in this context still has implicit standards and expectations to be considered appropriate for the workplace, and this is where I've had some frustrations. The women in the company are completely able to wear singlets and skirts and still be considered appropriately dressed, but there's no way a dude could wear a singlet, and even shorts are just on the line. I'm assuming a singlet is like a sleeveless shirt. The singlets I knew were like workout wear, so it's a very weird image for me, so I'm assuming, but this is Australia, so the commenters, I live in Australia and it gets bloody hot and muggy and it's the worst having to wear long pants and shirts to work. I'm all for women wearing singlets and skirts at my workplace, but in the interest of equality and comfort, if they can wear those clothes, why can't men wear the same? I'm lucky I don't have to wear a full suit, but many businessmen do, and I think it's a terrible expectation compared to women, and especially in such extreme weather conditions. Free the shoulder at the workplace. Anyway, weird side rant over, huh? They don't allow short sleeve shirts, like even the short sleeve shirts? Wow. But it is... I will be the first one to agree that we have very, very non-logical dress standards in many ways in society. The business suit, linen suits are quite cool, but like vents, but still short sleeves, right? And yes, in climates like that, I don't, corporate culture is its own weird thing. And in a lot of ways, it doesn't make any sense. And so I will just leave it there in agreement with a commenter that, I don't know why you'd have to wear, long sleeves. Our society is just really weird about bodies and gender. On that note, another commenter said, I'm still stuck on why so many people are afraid of powerful women. Like, why? Why are powerful men okay, but not women? Could someone do some splaining for me? I love the idea of powerful women. And that segues into the delayed OMG over Project Eve. At first, I remember when I did the God of War video last week, and I said I'm surprised that the Thor thing is the thing everybody is going OMG over, not Project Eve. Well, the Project Eve thing happened. And I think this is one of these internet things where your opinion on this really depends on whether you saw the trailer for the game, which looked awesome, or still frames on the internet. Because the still frame that got tongues a-wagging, it does not appear in the game trailer I played. So I admit I don't know where this image actually comes from. It looks like, wow, I can't even, okay. I'm going to move it over so that, hang on, because I just realized that I'm accidentally censoring this image. So here's the image. Like I said, I'm accidentally censoring it. Let me fix it so that it moves over and you'll instantly be able to see why people lost their shit. Okay, so yes, that is basically a thong and chaps, though they're probably robots of some kind, as one person pointed out. There's an arm seam here, and they're also wearing, like, every character has like a necktie. Segueing into like that business casual workplace thing, right? I don't know if they're going for schoolgirl. I don't know what they're going for. There's a very near Automata feel about this game. The like I said, the trailer, first of all, it's moving so fast, but she does not look this naked in you know what I mean. But it is not the focus on the keister in the game trailer. I don't know where this came from. So but a guy on Twitter said, question, are sexy female character designs offensive to you with this image? Ever since the reveal of Project Eve, I've seen several takes decrying female leads with sexy body types or wearing outfits that show it off. Curious on how you feel about them, good or bad. Now, the question is, are they offensive? And of course, to me, I'm like, no, they're not offensive. Is it a major selling point for me in a game? No. Now, I mean, to me, Project Eve looks awesome, but for me it's more the monster designs. But because I sat there and I studied the trailer. I went back and didn't just watch it as a fan. I watched it for, can we get any clues to why the characters may look like this? And I noticed that Eve is EVE, all caps, like Eva from Wally. But then there's the natives or something, but the NA is capitalized. There's something sci-fi symbolic going on. But there's a lot of like religious symbolism. I mean, it's a Korean game, so obviously it's not as oh, religion, we must be chaste, right? As North American stuff would be. But I sat down and thought about it. It's Eve, right? From the Garden of Eden. What's Eve known for? Being naked. It's kind of in play, right? Like, Nier Automata is basically the androids were designed to look sexy, to be sort of a morale boost. Do with that what you will. But with Project Eve and using Eve, right? I think it's fair game to include some nudity because Eve, Garden of Eden. central point to the story, right? So in that context, with that symbolism, this really isn't much, right? I mean, like I said, that's probably their skin. Um, but I mean, it's in the Bible, man. But this is where we get into the question of female power, right? And how we visually represent female power. Because how do we represent male power? Conan, right? Big, strapping man, lots muscles, 12-pack in some comics, because 6 was not enough. Big, bigger, bulging arms, which apparently you can't have at workplaces in Australia. But, a shirtless guy or characters like Shao Kahn that are apparently allergic to pants. Like, them legs are just always visible. That's fine, apparently. That's even kind of encouraged in games. I mean, Ryu is showing all the chest and his hot Ryu, right? And, as the commenter said, why is male nudity allowed to be synonymous with power, but female stuff isn't? Female expressions of power using sort of the same ideas as men. Why is this so scary? There are many, many, many historical reasons for this. The short version is that men do not have a history of being discouraged from being in public spaces for their own safety. This is where I get into the history of public washrooms thing. And the, historically inaccurate to me part of the Nevers, where, what's her name? True, I don't remember. Dare, the brunette says she's going to the ladies' room at the opera. It's possible there weren't ladies' rooms at the opera at that time. There might have been, but women were discouraged from being out of the house long enough to require a ladies' room. If they did require a ladies' room, if they really got stuck, they squatted over a sewer grate and hoped their dresses covered it up. Things like public toilets were used to discourage women from being too far away from home for too long. Also, it's, very hard to pee in those dresses. I've had to do it. But we do not treat male bodies and female bodies the same way. We just don't. See original comment about workplace, right? And it's weird, right? Because in the fantasy realm, it's the exact opposite from the corporate realm, where, you can't wear Shao Kahn cosplay to work in Australia, even on the hottest day, right? Like, shorts are considered not appropriate. This stuff doesn't make any sense. There are reasons for it, but they don't really make any sense. A lot of our underlying assumptions about what looks powerful for men without being hypersexualized. You very rarely hear of a hypersexualized male character, no matter how many collectible cards Geralt of Rivia had in the original Witcher game, right? And we have to challenge these knee-jerk assumptions, because you hear hypersexualized with women, with female characters all the time, when really it's not necessarily hypersexualized, it's just nude, right? It's just wearing less clothes. Hyper, as opposed to, as opposed to just sexualized. Why is it hypersexualized for a woman, but it's not hypersexualized for a man in an equivalent state of undress, right? He-Man is still considered perfectly appropriate for kids to watch, and he's wearing a metal cuirass, a metal harness and furry shorts, for God's sakes. We don't think about that at all, right? Like, oh no, that's totally fine. But She-Ra needed a complete overall with bike shorts. It's weird, right? It isn't, but we're all like, well, we all know why. Yes, we all know why, but why don't we question why? Right? Why in the realm of naked Geralt in a hot tub can't we have a character like this who is like this in like one scene? Compare this based on sort of the context and what I've seen about the rest of the game. Compare this to that scene in Terminator 2? You know the scene where the Terminator like crashes and he's naked and he like stands up and he walks around and it's like he is a machine. He has no problem with being naked. You know that whole thing, and then he has to get clothes. But what if this is a very similar scene, right? What if the nudity is connected to the inhuman quality? I mean, in the trailer, the ponytail covers her bum a lot more. So this is probably like one really out of context screen grab. But even if it wasn't, like, even if they are using nudity in a Garden of Eden metaphor, the character's name is, the game's name is Project Eve, for fuck's sake. If they are using nudity to use that Garden of Eden metaphor in an artistic way, even if it's kind of fan servicey, why is that a problem? Because it's a female robot body instead of the fucking Terminator. We have to ask these questions, because as long as there are these imbalances, right? If women can show their knees at work, but men can't. Or if, but men can show their knees in a video game and women can't, right? As long as there's these imbalances, these are flags that there are other imbalances about how we treat power, about how we interpret power, about how we see physicality as powerful in men but slutty in women, right? Well, then how do women show power? Well, they look and behave like men. That's not right. Because women have their own power. Women, and this is not a beauty thing. Okay, this is a sex role performance, gender role performance thing. This whole idea of looking feminine and looking masculine and, feminine being fragile and male being strong. We got to throw all that out. We got to stop thinking that way. First of all, we have to stop, masculine okay to show things, the sex scene in The Last of Us 2. Abby is a hypersexualized character. Abby is a hypersexualized character. Abby is a hypersexualized character. There was no need for that scene. That's hypersexualization. It really added nothing to see her boobs and whatever that, I don't know what orifice that was going in, but, there was no need for that. No need. It added nothing to the game. She's a hypersexualized character, but that's okay because she doesn't look like this. That's a problem. That's a problem because the implication is it's okay because Abby's less conventionally attractive. Well, she was clearly Dr. Uckman's sexual fantasy, so there's disagreement there, right? It's empowering if a woman's not conventionally attractive, but, offensive if she is. That's wrong, right? Because that's that same business shorts to Shao Kahn dichotomy. People are getting the short end of the stick. It's a terrible metaphor after the Abby scene reference. But people are getting the short end of the stick on both ends, and it's actually quite arbitrary when you think about it. Why do we determine that this, for instance, this collection of facial features, this particular build, why is this the epitome of femininity? It's really not, because we all know the thick fans out there, right? You guys know I'm a big Megan Thee Stallion fan. But these are all, artistically we can go, well, she looks really young. Well, perhaps there's a reason for that, right? But if we can say perhaps there's a reason for her looking very young, I mean, that could just be the whole, what is it, moe thing? I don't know. But, there's sort of a schoolgirl, like, again, I'll call your attention to the necktie. There's kind of a school uniform thing going on here. And the green suit from the trailer has a necktie as well. So there's a lot of visual language going on here, and I think it really cheapens the artistry of the game to ask, is this offensive? No, it's not inherently offensive. Why? Thong bodysuits were a thing in the 90s. They didn't have that in Captain Marvel, but I remember them. Because the joke was, well, your underwear ends up there anyway. Why not go with it? And then the whole idea is that it didn't ride up. Like, you had a smooth line under skirts and things like that. Even under pants, right? And under pants, you didn't have the panty line if it was a thong bodysuit. The 90s called They Want Their Fashion Back with Eve? Maybe. But, is this offensive? Is the wrong question. Can we make a case for it in the realm of art? And yes, if you're invoking Eve from the Garden of Eden, yes, you absolutely can make a case for it based on the metaphors you're using in this game. Now, Eve didn't have glowy lights in her back, right? Like, Eve didn't have this, but still, we're not talking about the glowy lights. We're talking about the appropriateness of nudity as a metaphor. Yes, it's absolutely appropriate. So, the idea are sexy female character design's offensive. Well, it really depends on how well it's handled. Like, would we say our sexy male character design's offensive? No, we wouldn't ask that question, because the idea that men like and want sex is not offensive to some people. And I am not talking about men, because women are the ones that enforce this stuff, or some men do. Those are the ones I worry about. But it's mainly women enforcing this. It's uncomfortable to look at an ass the whole game thing. That's the ongoing stump speech you hear, usually from female speakers, but some men as well. I shouldn't, you know what I mean. I'm generalizing, but there we have it. And first of all, like, my first thought is, watch that Project Eve trailer. If you're looking at her butt, I don't think you're a gamer. Like, if you're staring at it, no. If you're glancing every so often, very nice. Next, those monster designs are wicked cool. You can see a butt all over the internet, but those, like, the saw blade head monsters, tentacles, wing thing with eyeball. Why are you looking at her ass for too long? Okay, maybe I shouldn't judge, but holy hell, did I see the same trailer these people did? No, they probably didn't see the trailer. They probably just saw this image, which isn't accurate, which isn't an accurate representation of the game as a whole. And we have to stop judging things as complex as video games based on a single, somewhat out of context image. Like, come on. That's reductive and derivative and lazy and insulting to the artists who put a lot of work into it, and so they want to make them sexy. I don't care. They still put a lot of work into it, and there's different kind of sexy, different folks for different strokes for different folks, literally on the different strokes for some people. We should be better than this. We should be more mature than this, because women look at these discussions about the idea of bodies being offensive, and men do too. Men, I hear a lot, one of the things I've learned a lot about from you guys in the comments section is the male body issue, image issues that arise from this stuff. And these are not harmless activities, because the truth is, like, look, if everybody had to look like a Project Eve character to get somebody interested in them, the population of the world would be much, much smaller, because very few people, have an ass made of metal. Are there ideals? Absolutely. Do you have to be that ideal to attract somebody cool? No. Right? Like, no. Just no. And anybody who tells you you do is lying. Right? No. I don't care how many memes or how many trends or how many. No, you don't. Like, people meet and fall for each other and find each other sexy, and they don't look like this. And there are plenty of people who, obviously it's quite perky, but that's not my ideal butt. Does it have to be? No. Does it make sense to the character? That's what I'm interested in, right? Does it make sense? And it very well might, right? If only because it's a Korean game and that's how Korean women tend to look. They tend to be on the smaller bum side. Fine. That's enough for me. That's normalized in that part of the world. Fine. And then you've got the Garden of Eden thing. So why are we criticizing nudity? It's called Project Eve. As in Adam and Eve. And Eve is the one that got the apple, which she wasn't supposed to do, and gave it to Adam, and Adam eat it, and then they realized they were naked and then cover with leaves. And God didn't want them to do that. God wanted them to walk around bare ass naked. Maybe there's a metaphor here. Just saying. Project Eve. Project Eve. And here we go again, removing all the tangible details, all the things that makes this female character unique, and stripping all that away and reducing it to sexy female character. No analyst, no critic, no appreciator of art worth anything does that. Is something offensive? Is it really, like, demeaning? Well, then maybe it is. Isn't it? Is it not? Or is it, deliberately demeaning to make a point and then the character has a big win or something like that? There are a lot of variables. And the fact that so many women just answered yes, sexy female characters are offensive, or some form, makes me worried. It makes me very scared and worried, and that's why I keep making these videos that get people angry at me and get me called a bunch of names. Because it's bigger than me. It's bigger than the biggest thick butt on the planet. I'm joking, obviously, because, we have to make light of this. but this is really unhealthy. This whole discourse is really unhealthy. So hopefully that explains some things about power and fear of power and why can't we have powerful women and why can't powerful women, be traditionally feminine. Hopefully that starts the discussion. I'm happy to continue this in the next week. If you guys want to leave comments and ask questions and things like that, I'm happy to continue this dialogue because I'm so damn tired of this. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.